Dream Your Life Amazing, Chapter 10. Guidance to Stay the Course. This chapter contains what I call life hacks or lessons. Some of the lessons are paradigms to help you navigate more successfully in life. Belief is a tool. The power of belief has been studied by scholars of religion and science for as long as man has been around. There is an unexplainable force behind the power of belief. We know through scientific study that if an individual is given a sugar pill and they believe it is medicine, many of these individuals cure themselves. Now, here we see that the belief was an untruth. Their belief in that sugar pill was so powerful that it transformed physical reality. If belief in a lie has this much power, how much more powerful would you, your goals, and your influence be if you lived a life based on truths that you wholeheartedly believed? One of the traits of great achievers is to have a vision and a passion that can give their entire life to. It is one of the great powers of writing down your goals and drawing them out in picture form. It is what helps you to establish the foundations of something that you can run toward, believe in. The systems of enslavement. Many times the things we build to make our life more convenient eventually turn into weights and bondage. Large businesses that started with visionary leadership often become camps for the enslaved. Wage slaves are workers who become afraid to creatively think, be unique, or challenge the status quo. If we are not always vigilant in our pursuit of freedom and truth, we will find ourselves being subjected to those systems and things that would have us servants to their agendas, ideals, and goals. Service is the highest form of life's endeavor, but to be a slave is the lowest. The way we stay free is to continue to live our life in the now and not being defined by others' expectations or even our own past ideals. Continue to look at every arena of life and see if there's a way to help those around you become more independent and interdependent. A room filled with individuals whose hearts are free to think like entrepreneurs results in far more potential for change than an environment that is structured or confined and where error is punished. As a business owner, it was always my goal to do everything I could to serve my employees and contractors so that they never wanted to work for anyone else besides me. The only way to achieve that goal was to help them become the very best they could become. It was imperative to discover the things that they loved to do and only employ them if it was in their best interest. In starting a new company or beginning a new adventure, you should be able to reach out to your community, and the response should be, I trust you, let's go. Reading to be a success. When asking the billionaires of our time what is the number one thing that an individual can do to become successful, they give the same answer. When you ask the number one authors and speakers what they should recommend to young person getting started, they all say, read as much as you can. As it turns out, statistics say that 70% of all high school graduates will never read another book for as long as they live. To be a person who wants to strive for dreams, to stand out as excellent, to live the life that we are destined to live, requires us to be the kind of person that is not ordinary. Emotional quotient, EQ, and spiritual quotient, SQ, have a similarity. There's something almost mystical about each of these quotients in life. It's as if you open a magic door and the moment you enter in, you see things anew. Life and relationships become almost magical, or at least easier, when you become a master of EQ. Little girls seem to be born with an innate ability, like they have EQ hard-coded in their souls. Most little girls are all about best friends, teacups, and flowers. But in a world of wounded souls and battles at every turn, people become dysfunctional in the realm of EQ, and it becomes hidden. The training and mastery of the emotional quotient seems to be non-existent. It is far more valuable to win the hearts and minds of people than to gain a paycheck. As we win people, we win in all areas of life. EQ should be something that is on everyone's list of mastery. Master conflict resolution. There is an art to resolving conflict. Once you realize the skills, hacks, and the philosophy of conflict resolution, you will begin to love conflict. One of the greatest opportunities to win a friend or fan is to successfully resolve their conflict. Every conflict, big or small, comes from this one single place: unfulfilled expectations. Every conflict between children, marriages, or nations comes from unfulfilled expectations. If you can get past the noise of the conflict, the external rattling of the sword, and get directly to the expectation, you will begin the mastery of resolution. Since 100% of all conflicts come from the same place, once you find out where that place is, you'll stop beating at the branches, go straight to the root, and solve a lot more problems. Some of the problems are based on improper roles in relationships. When you start to sense conflict, learn how to identify the problem. Then you can fulfill expectations and can resolve conflict quickly. Stop this. In the beginning of each week, you will see in the Dream Planner workbook, it begins with a little box called Stop This. Just as important as it is for you to find the right things to do that are attached to your dreams, it is also extremely important to eliminate the things that are distractions. Spend a little time each week looking at the things in your life that weigh you down, things that slow you down or are hindering your success. Now, there's a delicate balance on how much time should be dedicated to your hindrances. If most of our time is spent primarily focusing on our negatives, that can be demotivating. The more attention the soul gives to his addictions, the more he will find himself addicted. In the beginning of each week, as you look back over your life, list the things that you did that you didn't have to do, the times that you chose entertainment instead of recreation. Think over the relationships that are weighing you down and are emotionally draining on your time. Entertainment, to be detained from entering. I know I talked about entertainment earlier, but it is a worthwhile subject for more discussion. When you are set to have a life that is filled with goals, dreams, and achievement, you do not have time or room for entertainment. Entertainment activities are those things that make you feel temporarily good, but in reality detain you from entering. If the average person would evaluate how much time they spent on empty subjects or frivolous chatter, they would be amazed at how much time they have available in their day to achieve their dreams. Never stop evaluating your progress. As I've written earlier, it is important for you to continue the practice of writing on the whiteboard. Redream and reevaluate what you do with your life. Give yourself permission to change your mind, to change your direction, or to start over. It is valuable for you to begin and end each month with an evaluation process. It's important for you to honestly evaluate the speed or the effort that you are applying to your new life. This process is not so that you can criticize your progress, nor should you be discouraged by your lack of progress. Rather, it's an opportunity for you to be honest with your efforts. Evaluate and determine each month what goals need to be re-added to your list. Re-establish your commitment to your dreams and be determined to never quit. Somewhere in the past, I read that a person makes the same New Year's resolution 4 times before they actually accomplish or commit to their goal. It is necessary for you to realize that it's part of the human condition for us not to change so easily. People change for 2 main reasons. 1, out of desperation, and 2, out of inspiration. We don't have to wait until we have a heart attack to begin losing weight. We don't have to wait until we are close to retirement to start putting money away. We don't have to wait until our relationships are on the verge of divorce before we improve upon them. The process of being honest with your goals and your commitment helps you find inspiration, helps you learn to become your own cheerleader, and gives you the ability to recommit to your goals. If it takes 4 times committing to a task to make it earnest, then let's not wait 4 years. Instead, let's do it in 4 weeks. I wish I was 39 again. Many years ago, when I worked in corporate America, I was sitting in my office space and overheard a phone conversation taking place near me. The woman who was talking, probably in her 60s, was joyfully congratulating someone on the other end of the phone. It was her friend's 39th birthday. She went on to talk about how she wished she was 39 years old again, and how much her friend could achieve with all the health and time she still had left in her life. This conversation was a huge turning point for me because I too was 39 years old and never thought of my life from that perspective. Up to that point, I thought I had already accomplished much in my own life. I traveled, read thousands of books, built companies, and now my life was getting ready to become more stable and less adventurous. That lady next to me knew something, that my life could become more. I had all the time in the world and didn't have to suffer from immaturity and youthfulness getting in my way. Later on that day, I realized something about my neighboring coworker that she didn't see. I wondered, what if she got a phone call from her grandmother today, who turned 95? And the conversation is from her grandmother's perspective. Then my coworker would be the one who had years of good life and opportunity ahead of her. Look at your life anew, not from the old story. Celebrate victories. We're all motivated by victories and milestones. Get into the habit of celebrating each one. Have a party and invite others to celebrate alongside you. Make the celebration even bigger than the milestone deserves. There's something special about making memories and telling yourself, I am an achiever. Those moments of encouragement stay with you, and you need them during your next trial and push. Not only should you make it a habit to celebrate your victories, but become that person who applauds everyone around you who is attempting change or making strides to reach their dreams. The DUH principle. Here is a lifelong principle that will keep you moving where other people stop or get stuck. I quoted earlier in the book where Einstein said, I am not smarter than most of you, I just stay with the problem longer than you. There is something that your brain, my brain, and Einstein's brain say when it finds a problem it can't solve. It's that dull sound of your brain crashing against an immovable object that makes you feel stupid. You know we all have it. It's what you do with the next few seconds that determine if you're just like everyone else or if you're a person who can't be stopped. There are two mindsets that you can learn. 1. Belief and resolve. I can do this. I am capable, and if others have done it, so can I. 2. Adventure and excitement. Say to yourself and change the mindset so that you say, I love this stuff. This is like a little puzzle, and I can and will figure it out. Learn to love the learning process. Teach your way to power. One of the most personal and empowering things you can begin to do is to teach the things you are learning. When you are focused to communicate to others the subject matter you are learning, it provides two benefits. You learn the subject at a deeper level, and you gain influence. Gaining influence is one of the most powerful of role relationships between the teacher and student. A relationship that is built on self-improvement or the empowerment of others is one that can be valued for your entire life and have fruitful reward for generations to come. Role Relationships, Part 2. If you've gotten this far in my book, you're the type of person to appreciate the following content. Some of what I'm about to say is a bit more advanced in the world of EQ, and it will take a thoughtful approach as you continue to read. In earlier chapters, I talked about all conflicts coming from the same place, called unfulfilled expectations. One of the very best ways to negotiate expectations is to understand and master the art of role relationships. You've probably seen this happen before in many relationships, where a young son comes home very excited about the great advice he received from his coach. The very same advice his mom and dad have been giving him for years. Or the wife who says, wow, you should have read what I just read. This is so amazing. As the husband reads the amazing sentence, he recognized that it's exactly what he said to her just a week ago. When we engage people based on our culture or expected behavioral patterns, many times we fall into role relationship that's not empowering to either person. Let me tell you about the early days of when I first started to get into high-dollar sales. Our company was selling a product with a price tag of over $1 million. We began to meet with people who were able to write that size of a check. I realized immediately that I was in a new league and I didn't know the rules of engagement. I didn't know how to play the game of the billionaires, but what I did know was how to reach the hearts of people. I decided that I would become a friend to the billionaire instead of a salesperson. The role of salesperson is always begging for an order, while a friend gets to share in the excitement and get away with a much more relaxed engagement. I was invited to share our business ideas with a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. So I began to do my homework. I found out that the CEO had a nickname, and when he was a kid, they called him Uncle Bubby. One of the people that I was going to the meeting along with me was a childhood friend of his, and I realized that if I could get in on the friendship relationship instead of on the business relationship, I would have more possibility to not only share my ideas, but to get a positive result. So here I was, headed to the top floor of one of the most expensive office buildings in New York City. As the elevator door opened, I realized he owned the entire top floor. Every single room was beautifully covered in glass or polished brass. The images on the walls, even the carpet, was one of the highest quality. The very essence of the room was intimidating even to the wealthy. When I saw the CEO approach us, instead of holding back and waiting for the professional greeting, I raised my arms high in the air and exclaimed, "Uncle Bubby!" The smile on his face was so revealing that I got in and gave him a great big hug. His extremely formal assistant said in a very stern voice, "Nobody refers to Mr. Simon as Uncle Bubby." Bubby immediately told her it was okay. These guys are family, and then said, "I won't be needing your assistance. I'll call you if I need your help." The next 3 days were so amazing and the relationship was so dynamic, it did end up in leading us to $1 million sale. Plus, I continued to have friendship and mentoring from Bubby for years. If the meanest guy in the room turns into a softie when his grandbabies are in the room, or if a rebellious teenager finds submission and attentiveness with other roles in his life, then you have the ability to reach each person in a different way. Last story, I promise. I walked into a group interview where 15 people were being interviewed for a single internet project. Little did I know at the time that this was the second group of 15 being interviewed, and so I was one out of 30. Those are not good odds no matter who you are. The CEO presented his task, which was about 8 to 12 months worth of work. He was looking for a hireling to come in and train his people to build his internet project for an hourly rate, which was to be decided later. The command was given, "Go home and write up your proposal and fax it to me. Within the next couple days, I'll decide who gets the second interview." So, I waited until all the others left the room. I stayed seated and kept staring at the CEO. He asked, "Can I help you?" I said, "I'm not sure, but I do know I can help you." Then I got up and approached his desk. I could tell he was a take-charge kind of guy, and all his employees were subject to his rule. I would never win as his subject. I had to be an equal or an expert. My next 3 sentences got me a contract for $1,000 a week that lasted for about a year. I told the CEO that he could not afford to pay me to sit in his office. Then I negotiated a contract to consult his people where they did all the work. The CEO could stay in control and maintain ownership of the code and the project, and I would only come in as needed to manage the process. He thought he wanted an employee for $400 a week. Instead, he got someone who would manage an entire project with excellence and who he did not have to manage or oversee. Worked for both of us. So, if you want to have a voice in your relationships and you have the ability to change the minds and hearts of those you touch, consider renegotiating your relationships. Not as an employee, but as a consultant. Consultants come and go as they see fit and make 4 to 10 times that of the employee. Not as a parent, but as a coach. When young people begin to move into adulthood, they war against and resist parenting, but they tend to love the encouragement and challenges of a collaborator or coach. Not a husband, but a best friend. If you have friction in your marriage and you see your spouse has no trouble sharing intimacy with her friends, then change your behaviors. Win her heart the way her friends do. If you will take time to listen to people's hearts and find what triggers make them responsive, become that.